guys, it seems to be official. We're finally going to get Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier as the main event of UFC 257. What up, Fightful fam, and welcome to your Fightful Fix Tuesday, November 10th, 2020 edition. And guys, it seems to be official. We're finally going to get Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier as the main event of UFC 257. Now, before we go any further with this video, if you could please hit subscribe and tap the notification bell. That goes such a long way to helping our channel grow, and a like on this video never hurts either. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it. So, MMA Fighting comes out with a report at approximately 12 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, confirming that Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier II is official. That is the card that is taking place on January 23rd. It's what UFC President Dana White and the promotion have really stuck to in terms of what they want for Conor McGregor's return, and it seems to be what we're going to get. MMA Fighting acknowledged multiple sources in the report and said that all sides finally came to an agreement as of late Monday night. There were reports going around that the holdup was really on Dustin Poirier's side, that, he was sort of holding out for money that he feels he rightfully deserves, and it seems whether it's the UFC who sort of gave in a little bit, or Dustin Poirier gave in, or maybe they met somewhere in the middle, we're finally going to get the return of Conor McGregor before the end of January. If you guys sort of remember how this whole saga started, I'll give you a really quick recap. Dustin Poirier was supposed to fight Tony Ferguson at UFC 254. That fight did not materialize, reportedly because Poirier was not happy with the money being offered to him. Him and Conor McGregor subsequently went to Twitter and started discussing a charity fight in Dublin, I think on December 12th. The UFC got involved, said, hey, if you guys want to fight, let's do it under the UFC banner. Both sides publicly agree. However, behind the scenes, Conor McGregor was shooting for 2019. The UFC said, no, we're doing it on January 23rd. Conor McGregor asked for Texas in front of a live crowd at AT&T Stadium. The UFC said no. The final hurdle seemed to be Dustin Poirier and the UFC reaching terms on money. Here we are. It looks like it's going to happen, although it's worth noting that at the time of this video being recorded, the UFC has yet to officially make a statement as to whether or not Conor versus Dustin is truly happening. An interesting note, so Conor McGregor, prior to agreeing to UFC 257 in January, was pushing really hard to fight in 2020, the most likely candidate being UFC 256 on December 12th. That card was originally supposed to be headlined by Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns for the welterweight title. That fight was scrapped, so Conor tried to move in. The UFC said no. They still had Amanda Nunes versus Megan Anderson on the card and added Peter Yan versus Aljamain Sterling for the men's bantamweight title. But it's interesting because either Sunday or Monday of this week, Amanda Nunes versus Megan Anderson was scrapped, and so what we're currently left with is Peter Yan versus Aljamain Sterling as the only title fight on the UFC's final pay-per-view of 2020. They usually really like to stack these end-of-the-year cards, and both of the original, headliner, co-headliners, which was Usman versus Burns and Nunes versus Anderson for the women's featherweight strap, are both gone. So apparently McGregor is still pushing to have the fight moved from UFC 257 and put on a headlining spot for UFC 256. Don't know where that's going to go. To this point, Dana White and company have been very, very firm on a 2021 fight for Conor McGregor. They wanted UFC 257, they wanted January 23rd, and they seemed very reluctant to rush that to UFC 256. But now, end of the year card only has one headliner, Peter Yan versus Aljamain Sterling. Great fight, should be a blast, but in terms of bringing in the casual audience, Peter Yan is a new champion. Aljamain Sterling has never fought for the title before, so not a whole lot of name value on the card. You could imagine what Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier would do, although, actually they still have a month to promote it, so I think that's plenty of time, but maybe for some reason they think they want the 2.5 months to really drive enough media to this event. We'll see what happens. This is definitely the fight to make. Dustin Poirier is in a really interesting spot right now in which he is rightfully on the top of the contenders list, but lost to Khabib very handily like everyone else who came before him. And so you're not going to insert Dustin into a title fight, even though he's coming off the win against Dan Hooker, and there aren't many viable contenders there. And so a win against Conor McGregor really helps him make a case. On the flip side, Conor McGregor coming off the Donald Cerrone win had lost to Khabib previously. And it's interesting because although Conor McGregor was handedly beat by Khabib, his fight is aging better and better with time. He was coming off of a significant layoff. When you see how Khabib just dominated Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje within a few rounds, it makes it more impressive that Conor McGregor hung as long as he did and, took that third round, which Khabib admittedly sort of eased off on to sort of hold on to his gas tank. So this is where we're at. Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier. It's a great fight. It's going to bring a lot of attention to the sport. And the Conor McGregor of now is a much more reserved Conor McGregor than the one that got really nasty with Khabib. So expect a lot of press. Like, he's still charismatic. He still knows how to trash talk, but there seems to be a lot of respect between him and Dustin Poirier. And so I think he's going to bring attention in the right way to the sport this time. And as we wrap up, let's touch very quickly on Rafael Dos Anjos versus Paul Felder. That is your headlining fight for UFC Vegas 14 this weekend. And it wasn't your headliner just a few days ago. Rafael Dos Anjos was originally supposed to fight Islam Makhachev at UFC 254. RDA had to pull out. The fight was postponed for this event as the headliner. And on basically a week's notice, maybe less, Islam pulls out. And Paul Felder steps in on 5 days' notice to fight RDA in a lightweight bout. I don't know what to say about this beyond the fact that Paul Felder is an absolute gamer. He's hovering around the 170 mark right now and is confident that he's going to be able to drop to 155 on 5 days' notice for a 5-round fight. I got nothing but love and respect for the Irish Dragon. On top of that, he did say in a recent report, I think it's with MMA Junkie, apologies if that's incorrect, that he is more likely to retire should he beat RDA as opposed to if he loses to RDA. He said that for him, going out on a loss just doesn't really set right. And although he's not confirming to retirement one way or the other, should he beat Rafael Dos Anjos, it just seems like the perfect way for him to sort of ride off into the sunset on a victory. Very Irish Dragon style, coming in on short notice. So who knows what's going to happen at UFC Vegas 14, but we could be seeing the retirement of Paul Felder and a rare retirement off a win. And a quick shout out to Jared Gordon. He's awesome. Him and Paul Felder are very good friends. You might recall at one of the Fight Island events, Paul Felder stepped away from the commentary booth to corner Jared Gordon in his fight after Gordon's camp was not allowed to corner him, I think due to COVID concerns. Again, sorry, this is just kind of coming off the top of my head. And so Paul Felder reached out to Jared Gordon about cornering him, and Gordon declined because he had recently come in contact with someone who may have tested positive for COVID-19. So as a precaution, Jared said no. But he did DM Rafael Dos Anjos and basically said, hey, could you do me a favor? No wrestling, keep this striking. It would really help my friend Paul out a lot. So shout out to Jared Gordon, always a blast on social media. And that is all for today's Fightful Fix. Let me know in the comments section, guys. What are your thoughts on Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier? It's interesting, right? Because Conor, he takes such long layoffs, but if that Donald Cerrone fight showed anything, and even his, a respectable performance against Khabib, considering what Khabib has done to just about everyone. And not to say it was close, but just to say it wasn't an entire wash from start to finish. Conor McGregor seems to do well with these long layoffs. It's hard because we don't know quite where he's at, but at the same time, every time he returns, there's still a high caliber athlete there. So let me know. I'm rambling. Do you guys think Conor McGregor or Dustin Poirier is your favorite heading into this fight? Also, what are your thoughts on Paul Felder retiring? Do you think he still has more in him? Do you think he should retire regardless of winning or losing? Let me know what you guys think. We love to hear from you as always. And that is all for today's Fightful Fix. As always, hit subscribe, tap the notification bell. It goes such a long way to helping the channel grow. For Fightful MMA, I'm Shakiel Mahjouri, and stay tuned for everything Fightful and so delightful. Fightful